Hello everyone, I'm Grant, I'm the King of New Camelot, and I'm happy to introduce you to the second video in our New Camelot's Take On video series, and this one is on communism. And I'm just going to do a little bit of a disclaimer to start off with. Firstly, this video is not to try and generate hate or cause trouble in any way, shape, or form towards people who are communist. Everything in the video is a combination of opinion and historical fact. In fact, I was actually having a chat with someone on a post on Reddit who is a leader of a communist nation, and asked them and said to them to make sure that they look in on the video so we can get some comments from them. I don't talking to them anyway, and not to make the statement. Don't say to them, please check this out. It would be a waste of an opportunity. And I hope you don't mind me mentioning the video. I'm not going to mention them by name because I did not actually ask permission to mention them in the video. Basically, we've been doing a debate. We've been having a debate between us on whether or not communism is bad. And I said that all throughout history, communism has been nothing but trouble and done nothing but cause suffering and pain. And that is why New Camelot does not condone it. And why we said in a post where another nation was asking should they accept communist nations, that no, they should not. Now the post, in if you want to go through into it, also said should they start accepting monarchies? Meaning absolute monarchies. And we said that monarchies, whether or not you accept a monarchy, should depend on how it is being run. Absolute monarchy can be a very good thing, but it can also be a very bad thing. The difference is who is head of the monarchy. But you could say that about any government type, because at the end of the day, who runs things has a major effect on things. If you have a leader who wants to do well by their people, who wants the people to have as much freedom as possible, then that is a good thing, no matter what type of government is they are head of. Now, I would point out that history has shown, on the whole, that communism has never really given you anything positive. The best example of this is the USSR. I have given you a link in the description to go and have a little do a little research on that. If for some reason you've not heard of the USSR, because the simple fact is Stalin was a tyrant. He organized the mass starvation of citizens of the USSR. He executed people for not agreeing with him. He created special underground prisons designed to be as horrible and as evil as possible. And he, in fact, originally signed an agreement making an alliance with Adolf Hitler in World War II. The only reason that the Soviet Union went to war with Germany and fought alongside the Allies was because Hitler broke the agreement and decided he was going to invade Russia. And now, is Russia still communist today? Honestly, that depends on who you listen to and who you believe. Vladimir Putin would say that they are still communist, and that he's working towards rebuilding the Soviet Union and becoming communist once more. Certainly, he certainly reintroduced a lot of the things that were in place back in the Soviet Union and taken away a lot of the freedoms that the Russian people had after the fall of communism. Now, documentary shows like the infomercial show, where they go out and they gather up historical information and do detailed videos and movies on everything that's going on. Sorry, was up late. Sorry for yawning. Was up late last night. They would tell you two things. Firstly, that Vladimir Putin does indeed seem to be trying to take his country back to the era of the Soviet Union. And secondly, that Vladimir Putin is an idiot and a tyrant, which he is. Now, also, we should probably move away from Russia for a moment. Let's pick on Ping Pang, or whatever his name is, and the Chinese, who rules China, and the Chinese Communist Party. Well, they even call themselves the Chinese Communist Party, and they are seen as being communist by most of the world. The United Nations and NATO both refer to the Chinese Communist Party as and China as a whole as being communist. Person, the communist I was talking to in the post on Reddit, in fact, said to me that China is not communist, even although it is ruled by the Chinese Communist Party. Well, the Chinese Communist Party forces everyone in China to live in a way that the rest of the world regards as communist. The Communist Chinese Party also wishes to attack Taiwan. It has constantly made threats to Taiwan and refused to accept that Taiwan is now its own separate nation. Just as the Kremlin in Russia wants to refuse to accept that Ukraine is its own separate nation. So yeah. Now, even if you don't accept that a country is communist simply because its government is communist, you can still judge the behavior of that party or monarchy or whatever kind of government it is, and compare their communist or monarchy behavior towards a country which has a different type of government. People who are communist would tell you that communism, or rather people who lead communist nations, would tell you that communism is about creating a form of government where the people have more authority than the government does, or equal authority to the government, where people all work together to make things easier for each other, and where the amount of money and wealth that is distributed throughout the country depends on how hard the individuals are working towards the goals that they have. However, when you look at the Chinese Communist Party and at Joseph Stalin and the Kremlin, you see a very different picture. Picture where the ordinary people have almost nothing, and the governing bodies are rich. Picture where there is corruption, where people who disagree with the government are imprisoned or killed. picture where torture is commonplace, where there are few rights, and this picture from these two countries' governments is what most people judge what a communist and what communism is based on. Now, I'm not saying there will never be a communist nation that finds a way to do what it claims it can do. And I'm not going to tell you whether or not you should judge an entire type of people, an entire form of government based on the actions of two groups of arrogant, evil bullies. I'm just giving you facts and the information. But people do, in fact, have a very bad way of making assumptions about how nations are run based simply on what type of government they have and what that type of government has done elsewhere in the past. And the only way to avoid that is to prove, and to help people stop doing that, is to prove them wrong. And the only way to prove them wrong is to prove that your government can be that type of government, if indeed it is that type of government, but not repeat the mistakes of those who created that type of government and ran that type of government elsewhere in the past. And many people make this kind of mistake, even though they don't think they do. The person who I mentioned earlier, the communist recreation leader, he made a comment in which he said that communism allows citizens way more freedom and rights than monarchy does. And that is very unfair, I think. because he based that on the fact that I had said that New Camelot is a monarchy, an absolute monarchy. So, and so, if he's saying that I shouldn't be jumping to conclusions about countries as a communist, then he shouldn't be jumping to conclusions about countries who are run by monarchy. He automatically assumes that because we're an absolute monarchy, the king has all the rights and power, and has absolute power, and the citizens don't get freedom and don't have rights. Now, this is what a lot of people think these days, because that is what they are taught by, that's what schools are taught by macronational governments to teach people, that democracy is good and there's nothing bad about it, and absolute monarchy is bad and there's nothing good about it. And it's simply not true. Oliver Cromwell, who brought democracy to the UK, forced his own 13-year-old son to join his army and fight alongside him as his lieutenant. And he used other teenagers to fill out the numbers when he lost soldiers. Anyway, going off on a bit of a tangent here. The point is, things are seldom all good and not bad, and seldom all bad and not good. Government and monarchy depend on people. And the way New Camelot is run, we call ourselves an absolute monarchy. The reason we call ourselves an absolute monarchy is simple. We don't want people to think that we are a democracy, and we don't want to be a democracy. The way we are governed is the king is at the top, and then there's the round table. Now, originally, in the days of King Arthur and his knights, the round table was made up of 12, including the king himself. So the king and 11 knights of the round table. The knights were selected based on their honor. So you had to be honorable, you had to prove that you had honor, you had to prove that you were just and truthful, and that you valued what was right and good, and you were allowed to become a knight of the round table. and then they functioned as New Camelot's government. The king would have final say, and people could come to the round table and talk with the king and the knights of the round table anytime they weren't happy at all about anything, make a complaint about things, ask for help, and the king would listen, the knights of the round table would listen, and they would do everything in their power to accommodate their citizens. Because, as King Arthur said himself, without citizens, there is no kingdom. We do things in much the same way, except we've tweaked it a little bit and split the council into two separate sections. The Knights of the Round Table and the Planet Priestesses. Planet Priestesses are Wiccan High Priestesses. People out there would probably use the term High Priestesses of the Old Religion. And they function as advisors, and they also enforce our rules and laws and in charge of security in real world events. Knights of the Round Table handle a number of different things, each with their own particular main duty, and it all works very well. And yes, the Knights of the Round Table are still selected in the same way. So any citizen of New Camelot can come to me or any other member of the Round Table anytime they want. With anything they want. And anyone who is interested in the Wiccan arts, in magic, in nature, in joining the High Council, can sign up to train as a High Priestess. So in actual fact, our citizens do get a lot of rights there already. On top of that, there is a constitution. And part of the constitution states that the King of New Camelot must always make his decisions based on what is the best interests of the people of New Camelot. And that the King of New Camelot cannot make decisions that harm the people of New Camelot. It also states that the people of New Camelot cannot have their rights taken away, and that they have freedom of speech. It does state that the royal family of New Camelot cannot be removed from power, and the King of New Camelot cannot ever become a democracy. But 90%, if not more, of that constitution is in favour of the people of New Camelot. Now, the person I was speaking to on Reddit was 100% correct. I don't know everything there is to know about communism, perhaps. I just know what I've seen from historical information. I know about what the USSR and Stalin were guilty of. I know what the Communist Party of China is guilty of. I know what Vladimir Putin is guilty of. And I've heard certain statements that I most certainly don't like from history that were made by communists. Oh, and by the way, I almost forgot. Another thing that makes New Camelot a fair monarchy is that everyone that joins the High Council has to swear an oath. And it's not an oath of allegiance to the king as such, it's an oath of honour to the people of New Camelot. If you would like to see a demonstration of that, I might be able to arrange it. If you guys out there do have any comments to make about what you think, do you think communism is evil? Do you think it's done some evil things in the past, but that was macronations, and micronations might do a bit better at avoiding those mistakes? Do you think that monarchies can be a good thing or a bad thing? And do you live in a communist macronation? Do you lead a communist macronation? I would love to hear your thoughts. And lastly, do you think that given what I've told you about how New Camelot is run, you think we'd be better off, instead of calling ourselves an absolute monarchy, calling ourselves a round table monarchy? Or um, or a round table government, or a round table nation, or possibly even a round table democracy. Tell me what you think. And if there's something you would like to hear New Camelot's take on, an issue of any kind in the micronational or macronational world, please tell me in the comments below, and I would like to hear it, and possibly we'll get I'll do a video on it for you. If you did enjoy this video, if you did like this content, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you are feeling particularly generous, look us up on Patreon. And I will catch you next time.